Any questions or comments about those minutes as presented? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as presented. Made by Bill. We have a second?
I'll second.
Jackie's going to second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No? Motion carried. Thank you. Update on the CLG property survey and update grant request and letter of intent. Carrie?
Yes, thank you, Chair Hittner and members of the Historic Preservation Commission. So we do have a draft letter of intent that is included in your packet, and that will be sent shortly. And that is our first indication to the Wisconsin Historical Society or State Historic Preservation Office that we are planning to apply for the grant for the property survey update. And we did, as required by them, we were able to get 2 consultant bids, just preliminary bids, so that we have an idea of the grant request amount. And the 2 came in at $50,000 and $32,000. And so we need to go with the lower one. So we did indicate that the expected request will be $32,000. And that consultant did visit the city, and they both have been very, good to communicate with. And so we're planning to send this in the next 1 to 2 weeks. And then on the slide is just a reminder of the timeline. So that letter of intent is due August 14th. Then we work to further define our scope of work with the State Historic Preservation Office, and the entirety of the application is due on December 18th. And then we will find out about grant awards in February of 2024. So the next few months, we'll get our application in, and then hopefully we get good news in February. And if
Carrie, do you need a motion on that grant request letter?
Nope, that's just informational.
Okay. Any questions by the commission? No. Then we have item 3, 1996 Historic Property Reconnaissance Survey presentation. You're talking about the Mead and Hunt one.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. Yes, so we did discuss this a little bit at our first meeting, but we just wanted to continue to provide you with a little more information. And especially when we get down a couple items, we are organizing a tour of some of the districts identified in the survey. So we thought it'd be good just to give an overview and a reminder of some of the findings from that survey. So the last, and really the only, prior to that, there was a little bit of work done, but in 1996, there was a historic property reconnaissance survey done, a formal one done by a consultant. And so just as a reminder, and again, what we'll be requesting in the grant is an update to this survey. So what did the survey do? So it documented properties of architectural or historical interest and potential significance, and that's what we're going to be asking to be redone, but looking at all the properties in the city, some of which now will be over the 50-year mark and will have historical significance where they did not in the 1996 survey. And why, what's the reason for doing this? And it's so that the city or any interested party could prepare and submit National Register of Historic Places nominations for individual properties or for historic districts. And just a reminder, this in and of itself doesn't put restrictions on property owners. They can be listed on the National Register and really pretty much do whatever they choose to do with their property. But if they would like to do improvements in keeping with historical guidelines, they are able to access some pretty significant historic tax credits, and that's both for residential properties and commercial properties. So there is quite a big benefit with being on the register and having access to the tax credits. And these are just some of the property cards, the photos here that were in that original survey. And again, this would all be redone, and the consultant would be looking again at these properties and likely adding to that list. So the results of that survey, so eligible properties fell under 3 classifications. There were some windshield surveys done previously, I think in the 70s by students out of maybe UW-Madison. It's cited in there. But The property was included in a previous survey, had not been substantially altered, and had good potential to be eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. The property was not included in a previous survey and had good potential to be eligible for the National Register, or the property is within a potential historic district. And the results of the survey were 79 individual properties were identified, and this is a wide range of properties. There were residential, commercial, institutional properties like churches and government buildings and some of that type of variety. And then there were also 6 potential districts identified. And I know I've shown this slide before, but just as a reminder, so these are the pretty close boundary areas of those 6 districts. So there is the Wisconsin Rapids Hydroelectric Plant Historic District, and then St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church Historic District, which that church would be the kind of focal point of that district, and it wasn't quite at the 50-year mark at the time the 1996 survey was done, but they still identified it because they knew it soon would be, and in a subsequent survey it would be identified. And then the remaining districts are all residential. So the 3rd Street Residential Historic District, the Witter Street Residential Historic District, Lincoln Street Residential Historic District, and then the Hill Street. And I know we had these slides before, so I won't go into a ton of detail. But again, the Hill Street was a collection of single-family homes, and that was the Conseweld Company to demonstrate newly developed plastic laminate products. 16 homes were constructed, and it was in 1947-48, and there were 11 intact examples in 96. And then the Lincoln Street District contains a variety of architectural styles, 7 properties along the west side of Lincoln Street between Birch Street and Witter Street, and then 1 adjacent property. And then St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church Historic District. So again, they knew in 2001, which was 5 years from when the last survey was done, that central building would meet the 50-year age requirement. And there are a variety of architectural styles and spans 1870 to 1951. I think this is the oldest district. And then the 3rd Street Residential Historic District is large-scale, early 20th century homes, 28 properties on 3rd Street South between Witter Street on the north and Chestnut on the south, and then 2 on Bell Island. And there are 29 contributing resources, or there were in 1996. And the Wisconsin Rapids Hydroelectric Plant Historic District, which 17 resources that were all constructed for the Consolidated Water, Power, and Paper Company. So this is more infrastructural related. And then lastly, the Witter Street Residential Historic District, and this included 9 properties, and again, a variety of architectural styles. And does anyone have any questions or any comments after looking at that survey? Anything of note?
Carrie, I noticed that the pictures taken for Bell Island were taken from afar. I'm assuming they didn't cooperate with letting them come on the island and take a closer picture?
Yeah, I don't know. That would be interesting to find out. Or maybe this time, maybe they'll get a closer picture.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Next information we have is on the historic district tour information discussion. Carrie, how careful do we have to be? I know if 2 or 3 of us ride together, it's no sense all of us driving separately in this day and age.
Yes.
We don't have to worry about quorum being in one car or something, do we?
So there are no, so we'll be good because there are no action items, so we're good that way. And we will still notice it though as a public meeting. We'll do the 24-hour meeting notice. So if any members of the public choose to join in, they would be able to do that.
Sure.
So we'll make sure we have some extra room if we did have any other members that would like to join.
And my understanding is we're using our own vehicles because there's nothing available from the city?
So we will be able to have 2 vehicles available, so we'll be able to seat 6 plus 4, is that right, Kyle? So we'll have room for 10, and that'll include the 2 staff. So we'll have room for the commission and staff, and then if we did have members of the public, we would kind of adjust as needed.
We'll have to make room for Dennis and Tom.
Yeah, yes.
I also want to note that on the agenda, we'll likely identify the stops and the times in the event that a member of the public can't join us at the beginning. They know where we're at, where the stops are, and at what time we're expected to be there. So I do want to try to keep on a tight schedule when we're out, again, so that we are meeting the open meetings law.
Do we entertain probably 2.5 hours approximately? I think it gets dark around 8:30, 8:45, so I imagine we'll be pretty much done by then.
Yes, Phil Brown did agree to be the tour kind of director, kind of the tour guide. And we were shooting for 2. I mean, ideally, we're shooting for 2. So the idea right now is to begin at City Hall, park here, look at some of the downtown properties, then go north to Saints Peter and Paul, look at some of that area, and then try to get as many of the residential districts kind of in one. None of them are too far from each other, so that would be an easier one to group. So, but like Kyle said, we'll get a better, we are working on materials now, but get a better schedule organized with some clear, time expectations for different stops and
Okay,
things like that.
welcome, Justin. Any questions on the tour?
So it's scheduled for Wednesday, August 2nd at 5 o'clock, just so everybody knows, and we will be meeting here in the City Hall parking lot.
Right. Do we know if most of us can go, Justin, you know? Out of state, okay. And Jackie thought she could go. Oh, you're gonna be out of state too. Okay, and maybe Ryan will be here, I don't know, it's a possibility. So we have plenty of room then for you guys to come with us if you want. Or some of the public. Okay, thank you. Staff updates, anything?
So the most notable update is there, and I did send a couple emails out, but just as a reminder, there is a 2-day virtual summer short course on August 23rd and 24th. And there are applications, and it sounds like there are quite a few scholarships available, and it's for the full attendance fee. And I would be happy to assist with those. So if anyone is interested, that application's due by August 14th, and it's all virtual. I mean, you just attend, virtually. And, CLG communities get priority. So if anyone's interested, this is just a snip of the itinerary for the 2 days. So these are some of the sessions. So being a newer commission, a newer CLG community, I mean, some of it's not going to apply as much. But it's still, it looks like a nice variety in terms of topics. So if anyone has interest, just feel free to email and let me know.
And how's our budget coming? Are we submitting a budget for, that's coming up in October, or I think the department heads are supposed to submit something, I think I
We're going
heard
to,
that.
we're going to try to do a budget. It'll be smaller, but I think we, given the amount of resources that exist for commissioners and staff to attend, I think it's warranted to have, a small budget. I think over time, as I noted, once we have the districts identified, created, hopefully recognized, I think we'll have hopefully a larger budget to be able to do some different promotional items, whether it's walking tours or street signs, things of that nature. So I'm hoping to incrementally build that budget, yes.
What are you going to start with, Kyle, like 2,000 or 5,000?
Oh, maybe $10, just to offset some of the costs for attending some of those, joking, obviously.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be in the realm of $500 to $1,000.
Maybe you should try for more, because it's like poker,
Sure, yep, shoot for the moon and end up with just a small amount. Some of your elders are here, perhaps they could comment on that as well.
I don't think we have any problem with these two gentlemen. So we got 2 out of what, 9? What do we have nowadays, 9?
8.
8? I was back in the days when it was 22 or something. Commissioner updates. Anybody have anything to add that went to a class or virtual class or saw something that was of interest that might help? Tell us about Gettysburg. That might be a 2-hour discussion. Oh, that's right. And you're complaining about Hooker yet, huh? They used to be, you know, Durabeauty Lane used to be called Hooker Street, and they changed, the city changed it in their wisdom about 40 years ago. They named it Durabeauty Lane, but Hooker was a general in the Civil War. He wasn't named after some other profession or something, so I don't know why they ever changed it. But. Anything else from staff?
Nope, just that the next meeting date we had scheduled for November 30th. And because of the timing of the letter of intent and the grant is due December 14th. So I'm sorry, the next meeting is scheduled for September. And so we're thinking the September meeting is probably unnecessary because we're not really going to have new news before then. But the November meeting will be more important because that's when we'll be looking to submit the grant, and we'll probably have more information at that time.
Okay, so then we can get by without having a half an hour meeting or something, just because we don't have that
Yes.
much to discuss unless something comes up out of the tours or something.
Yes, exactly, yep.
Right.
And I think we could still, even if we have summary comments from the tour, we could just bring that to the November meeting.
Sure.
I-
Kyle?
If I can interject here, I think maybe having an October meeting would be good, just because there's, the CLG grant will probably involve council approval. I think having a recommendation from historic preservation first, before council acts on the CLG application would be beneficial. So rather than waiting for the November date, I think maybe agreeing to an October meeting would be good.
I'll have to ask my vice president if she'll be here. I'm going to be in, where am I going to be? Turkey, so. Yeah, so you'll probably have to have that, Jackie. Yeah. So next meeting date, October then, other than our tour.
Yes, so let's look at that date just to, so if we stayed with our,
Thursdays.
yes, with our fourth Thursday, we'd be looking at October 26th, Thursday at 6 o'clock.
Does that seem to work for most of the commissioners?
That week ain't good for me. I'll be in Ohio for a show.
Battle or show? Oh, okay.
Okay.
The week before, the rest of the month is fine.
Let me look at the.
Maybe we can massage it a little bit. I'd just soon have as many here as possible to vote on that, so.
Yes. The other option is I could send out a poll with a few dates and we could just see when the majority could attend. We can check the schedule in this room and see what options are available.
And you could even check on some dates, maybe in early November. I should be back by, about the 6th or 8th November, so.
Does that sound good? Kyle?
Give us maybe one date in October and one in early November, earlier November.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Bill? Yeah. Does that work for you, Tom and Dennis? Okay.
What was the September date?
And that's one we'll skip, the September one. So we'll leave that October meeting in abeyance until we find out what works best for most people.
Yes.
But
Yep.
I would think either do one a week or two earlier, or go a week later, or 10 days later, or something like that.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll give a range and then see what works
Yeah.
for the majority. Okay.
Okay, anything else before us? Any commissioners have anything? Tom or Dennis, anything? No? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved by Justin, seconded by Bill to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.